Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's up, Jalen?
Rick, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Really excited to be doing this interview. It's been a little while since the last time we talked, so we got a little catching up to do.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's take it back before your last fight. You took off, I think it was about 8 months since that loss at LFA 131. Was there any specific reason why you took off? It wasn't that long of a layoff, but it was a little bit more than you're used to. Was it just to keep getting your skills improved, or was there any other reason?
It was a mix. It was gotta improve because that was my first time feeling that dang Dagestani ass wrestling. So I was like, oh, gotta address this hole. Now I know what everyone's talking about. And also just people wouldn't say yes. We went through 13 different opponents in that time.
Yeah, and that was literally going to be my second question because every single time now I talk to a highly touted prospect, it's the same thing. You're stuck in that spot where the big promotions, they need another win or two. They want to see a little more, but who the hell's going to, accept to fight a guy that risky and suffer such a major setback? So, how frustrating was it just to, you get a sign and then this guy's interested. Oh, now he's injured. Oh, this guy moved out of the country, and it's a mess.
It's really like you said. It's usually just a mess. And I usually end up having to target the other top prospects. Because those other guys, you can beat those 1-8, 2-7 guys that pad that record. But for me, it means something to not have that many type of those guys on your record or on your resume. That means something to me. So I kind of try to target those guys with the good records who are also the other top prospects to just kind of really show that I'm above that regional scene. But it's very hard to get those guys to take that risk.
Yeah, and like you just said, it's awesome to get the stat padding and get 12-0, 13-0. But I feel like every single week now we see a guy in UFC and Bellator, and they come in with this 12-0 record, but they just don't look like they're on that level yet because they haven't faced that competition.
Exactly. They haven't tested themselves. It's great for their confidence building. And that first like 2.5 minutes, they look very good because they haven't had to have their skill set tested. So they have complete confidence in that skill set. But then the fight is still going. They haven't ran through that guy like they've ran through all these other guys. They're not dropping these much higher level guys who are just tougher, to be perfectly honest. They're not going to fall from the same type of shots. And then that's when we see them start to really back up. Now we see them stuck in the corner. Now all of a sudden it looks like they don't know how to defend themselves on the feet. It looks like they don't know how to defend themselves on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, Chael Sonnen always says the quote, the worst thing that could happen in fighting is end up in a fight that is what make way harder than you expected it to be.
Yes, nothing is worse. So it's always great to have tested yourself, to take those bumps and bruises, know that you can take it. When I fought Bruno, I hadn't. I mean, I got dropped by Tristan in the fight before my fight with Bruno, and I was like, I don't know if that was because I can't take it or because of how god awful that weight cut was. And then going up and fighting to do a huge guy at 185, I was like, oh no, I can take it. It was just a horrible cut. And then that gives you another set of confidence that you can go in there, and if you get stuck in the fire, you're not caught off guard. You're not caught unawares and thinking that you can't handle the pressure.
So what kind of adjustments did you make to just ensure, hey, we don't have another weight cut like this?
The biggest thing I did was I just get much smaller throughout. Something that I heard Paul Felder say, I would much rather just be a tone leaned out, dropping as little weight as possible, 170, than being that guy who's in fat camp instead of fight camp, working on the skill set and the game plan, just so I can be the bigger man weight wise. My frame is already larger than most of the men who I'm going to fight at 170. So it doesn't really matter if they come in with 8 pounds on me when we step in the cage, 10 pounds on me when we step in the cage. That doesn't matter. My power, my leverage, my speed, I'd rather just be in the best possible shape I can be. And if that just means, a lifestyle change and keeping my weight low, never getting out of the 180s, then I'm okay with that.
And so you get back in the cage on January. It goes, I mean, I know that when you're preparing, I'm sure you're envisioning everything go perfect, but it couldn't have gotten any better than that, man. So what did it feel like to not only just get back in the cage like we were just saying, but get that first round finish and get right back on track?
It felt phenomenal. Those first round finishes against other high level guys, it's just a great reminder that you're like, no, man, I am that guy right now. I am coming up. I belong in there with those other guys. To be able to do that to somebody like Scott, and not only that, to make someone like Scott, who's a striker, already come in there with so much respect for my striking that his plan was to shoot, was to kick and shoot. That also made me feel good. I was like, man, these people really are worried about me on the feet. And then when they shoot in for me, thinking that because they saw Mutabek grapple me up, that that's the key to victory. I'm like, no, sir, it's no picnic there. And I'll sleep you before we even hit the ground.
And so now, with that win, now LFA wants you in a title shot, which I'm sure makes everything a lot easier because guys are willing to take that risk to get that title. What did you think about when you get the call? Trey Waters is the guy, and what kind of research have you done? What do you think of him as a fighter?
Trey is balanced, but boxing oriented. Uh, when we got the call for Trey, we were already set to fight Trey, but then Chris Brown ended up vacating the championship to make an attempt at the PFL Challenger Series. So then they called us, I think it was 2 weeks ago or a week ago, and they said, hey, you guys want to make this fight for the welterweight championship now? And of course, I'm saying yes. I knew Trey was going to say yes because he had already been vocal about getting his LFA title shot. So I was like, that's perfect with me. Full training camp for a guy. I prepped for 5 rounds anyway, and we already had that game plan going in there to face him. So I saw no issue with it, but I do just have to respect his skill set, man. He has a nasty guillotine that he is outrageously confident in. 3 guillotine finishes. He has that nice knee knockout in the fight that he was losing, and showed that he'll dog it out and he'll just keep it. He always sees a path to victory for himself. Um, Very 1-2 heavy, lowered hands, which tells me he's very confident in his counter ability. The lower those hands drop, the more that person is inviting you in for a very, very clear reason. So I do see this as being a bit of a kicker versus boxer type of fight. But once we get in close, he'll find out that, my boxing is nothing to really scoff at either. I just think I'm going to go in there with a more well-rounded set of skills. But I have to fully respect what he can bring to the table.
Is this the toughest fight of your career thus far?
It's the most important, not the toughest, I don't think.
Okay.
Nothing against Trey's skill set. His size, most people are very intimidated by his size and his length, 6'5" with a 77-inch reach. I have him beaten reach. I'm 80.5 inches in my reach. So that's a wash for his height versus my reach. We're going to be able to touch each other at the same time every time. But he's not bigger. I don't have to worry about the mass. Taking on those guys like Miles Amos and Bruno, who have gone on to have success at 205, I know there's no welterweight who is going to be nearly as large as they are with the skill sets that they bring, these very grapple heavy skill sets, or even the technical wrestling of Mutabek. So I think this is the most important fight. It is not my toughest fight.
And so I'm sure there's no way, not even a little bit, that you're overlooking or Trey Waters or anything like that. But let's just say you do win on LFA 156, which we know you are. What's next? Are you expecting that big opportunity? Are you expecting that next step in your career? Or do you think you're going to defend this title in LFA?
I'm expecting to get a call up from one of the bigger shows because they've shown interest already. But if it turns out that, hey, I need to get me another title defense, I'll of course be open to that because I like the fact of being able to defend the LFA belt because most people don't defend it. They just get it and then they're gone. Anyone can feel comfortable in the challenger role of getting to the belt, but it does take a different mindset and different sense of self to defend. So I would definitely be open to defending that title as well.
Who's your agent?
Oh, Ricky Cottonsteady. He manages John Dotson, Ray Borg. He used to manage people like Yair Rodriguez, and worked with John Jones for a little bit too.
And so, you don't have to go in any specifics if you don't want to, but so there has been communications of the promotion. Have you heard about the Contender Series? Have you heard about the PFL Contender? Anything like that?
We have heard. So he's told me, he's like, hey, get me this many wins, and we can get you on to the next spot. These people know who you are. They're aware of what you're doing. I don't ask anything more than that because that gets you looking too far ahead. And when you look too far ahead, you get clipped by the guy who's standing right in front of you.
And so, you don't have to give me the sales pitch because trust me, I've been sold for a while. But let's say right now, Dana White called. Let's say Scott Coker calls. Let's say Chatri Sichidon calls. What's your sales pitch to them?
My sales pitch would definitely be, in case of Chatri Sichidon, I would be like, you know what? I'm looking to make history with you. I want to be your first three combat sport world champion in male, three combat sport world champion in kickboxing, Muay Thai, and MMA. And I would like to create some competition between these three organizations that are kind of juggernauts in the game. And I want to be the first man to also unify these promotions, which I know is far fetched, but if anybody can make it happen, I think it'd be him.
And so I'm a big one championship fan. So just to touch up on that is something you're interested in. You love the whole different martial arts disciplines, traveling, all that.
I love it. I love it. One championship. I'm probably gonna get in trouble with a lot of people for saying it like this, but I am a one championship man. I am a one championship stan. All right. I don't care what anyone says. I'm like, nah, one championship for life. I don't care what anybody says about that, man. That's me all day.
Yeah, and now they're looking for guys like you too because they're doing the whole North America expansion. They're doing the Prime Video. They're doing events in North America. So I'm sure it'd be a fit to get a lot more Americans in there. But last question I have for you: how active do you want to stay? Because I know it's about finding the right fight, finding a good opportunity. But if everything goes well on April 14th, how many times do you want to fight this year?
After this fight, I want to at least get in two more. I feel like fighting 4 times a year is ideal. You should be able to get a fight every 3 months, and barring, taking that 1 month in between to recover and then having that 8-week camp right back to back, I think is plenty doable. A lot of people think you can't improve during training camp, and I'm just sitting here like, what type of training camps are you guys doing? Because I think that's ample time to improve. You don't have to go 7 months without a fight lined up for you to actually just work on and improve your skills. Yeah, when you're going into a fight, you have a game plan specific style of opponent you want to go for, but that shouldn't dictate the entire camp. You should always be working on every part of your game, and then taking the parts of your overall game and putting it toward that opponent. And then if you need to sharpen something up to better fit your game plan, then you can do that. But I would say 4 times a year is what I'm usually looking for.
And that's all I have for you today. Anything else you'd like to say before we part ways?
No, it was just good to finally get to talk with you again, man. It's been too dang long. I'll try to stay more active for you so I can get a little bit more interviews going.
Oh man, of course. I love to do interviews with you. You got a fan in me. I cannot wait till your fights April 14th. And you got to promise me when you get the win, we do another interview. We talk about what's next.
Of course, that's guaranteed.
Awesome. Sounds good. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too, brother. Later.